Hello everyone, Amigo Aaron here, and I'm beginning a series of what I hope to be a long-running show about obscure or underappreciated games from the TRS-80 color computer line. More specifically, the one you see behind me, which is the TRS-80 Color Computer 3. The Color Computer 3 was a great computer when it came out. My family originally had a Color Computer 2, and which came with 64K of memory, but the CoCo 3 upped the ante with 128K of memory, expandable to 512K. So this one here has been expanded, sort of irrelevant for the majority of games, but it's an easy update and it's cheap. You'll also notice that on the side there is a CoCo SDC cartridge, which is a SD card solution for the CoCo, which is I can't tell you how handy that is. It allows me to go to the menus with a joystick or keyboard and just select the games or programs I want, hit the button, and most of the time they work. Occasionally you'll run into some that don't, but for the most part I've had very good success. So I thought we would just take a look at a simple game to kick off. It's been on my mind recently. And as you may or may not know if you follow the show, I am a big arcade guy. And one of the first arcade games that I ever bought was a game based on a film, and the game was called TRON. TRON was an awesome game, and the arcade machine for TRON was just as awesome. It was a massive unit. And it weighed a ton, and I mean it's easily the heaviest single-player arcade machine I've ever moved. I had it in my bedroom. It was one of the first 2 or 3 arcade machines I ever owned, and when it came to me, it had no handles. If you'll recall, Tron had the very neat blue see-through handles on them, and it also was just sort of scuffed up, and it also didn't work. And so it was the first video game I ever fixed. I had it working for exactly 1 day, and it was awesome. But the sound stopped working. And if you know anything about the Tron family of the arcade machine Tron, it had what are called interconnect ribbon cables that would connect a series of boards together. And these things were so brittle. And almost certainly that's what it was. But I got frustrated after a while, and eventually I sold that thing. Of course, it took up most of my bedroom, and so it had to go, unfortunately. It was one of the first games I ever sold, actually. Amazingly, a few months later, I was that close to buying a Discs of Tron Environmental, which would have literally taken up my entire living room, and I don't know how we could have gotten it through the door. But I had it. I was ready to go. I had the money in my hand, and something told me to back out. And I'm glad I did, because it would have been an idiotic mistake. Although if I'd kept it all these years, I'd be a rich man. So anyway, back in the day, if you wanted to play Tron at home, you were pretty much boned. Until I came across this little ditty. I'm not sure where this is from. I don't know if it's not from the UK. It's not an American release. I mean, it's in Spanish, I believe. This is. But this is called Cron, which is the TRS-80 color computer version of Tron. You'll recall in the arcade that you had the 4 different sectors to choose from, and you would go in, and you would just sort of randomly get one, and then you'd have the ability to go back to that one if you failed and see it. If you didn't, you just move on to another one. In this one, they sort of give you the choice right away, but all 4 of Tron's areas are represented. You've got your the MCP cone on the far left. Then you've got the spiders level. Then you've got the light cycles. Then finally you've got the tanks. So we'll try. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot here. We will try the light cycles first. Now, this is a much different proposition here because of how speedy it is. And I was insta-killed. So we're going to try the tanks here. And this may be a quick game. depending on how well I can do. But I'd like to at least show these off. I think this is probably the... I say it's the easiest, and I kill myself. Let's try that again. At the time, I was quite amazed that this existed. And I was amazed because, like I said, there was no way to play it, and I didn't see an avenue where it was going to get a home port given the what the joysticks did. If you'll recall, this game had a spinner on it. Yeah, we're going to try that again. This game had a spinner on it and a triggered joystick, and so what that meant was you had two unique controllers that were not available at home. Now you could sort of emulate the triggered joystick, but emulating the spinner would be nigh impossible, short of some sort of specialized hardware, and that wasn't something you see a whole lot of back in the day. And so when this came out, I thought, how's this going to work? Well, it actually works pretty well. I mean, you can actually move your arm around and shoot different angles, but it's easiest to shoot up and try to knock out as many of these things as you can. I hope you can sneak through. Oh, if you hit the side, you're toast. Unfortunately, let's try the light cycles again. The light cycles are so fast. As you can see, it's hard to control. And of course, you hit the button, you actually go faster. Believe it or not, when I was younger, I was actually a pretty good hand at this game, but you know how it goes. It is a tough game. I want to see all the boards though, so we're going to try it again. Yeah, Swas Inicias. You got me on that. There we go. You have to earn your way to the spiders. I'm having trouble getting to those. But this game does a reasonable job. There we go. Oh! Of simulating. I mean, is it perfect? Obviously no. But what it is better than nothing. Let's put it that way. I hate to reduce it to those terms, but I will. It was a fun game that I enjoyed just because I like Tron so much, and I love the movie too. It was such a unique film. Disney took a real chance on that one, you know, and this is also the early days of computer graphics in film. I remember going to the theater with my dad and seeing the movie The Black Hole, which is another one of the early films that had had computer graphics in it, and it was really a neat movie. That arm was just killing me. It's just killing me. Well, we'll try one more. That's strange that I cannot seem to get to the spider section. I don't know if you have to get a certain level of success. I don't recall having trouble with that before. I will say, as we go back and re-experience these games, and I say we, I mean me, I haven't played a lot of these games for decades. We got rid of my CoCo in, gosh, it would have been probably 1985, and so it's now, as I record this, it's 2019, so you're talking a tremendous amount of time has passed. I hate to do the math, but a lot. I just go there, and so a lot of these, I want to do this series this way, so I can go back and, you know, I've got my rose-tinted glasses, but are the games going to hold up? Some probably will, and some probably won't. Like I said, this game I think is a little bit unique just because of the fact that it was the only version that I saw. And if you go back and look at versions of Tron for the home consoles, there's a lot of different versions. In television had many, but they aren't the arcade version of Tron. There's some other versions of Tron that they've done, and they're not the same. You know, it's not as much fun. I like playing the actual Tron. Oh, despite what you see there, brutal. You know, I should mention before we go, I'm not using a standard CoCo joystick. which I've got right here. These sticks are sort of notorious for being crummy. You can see it's sort of limp. These don't self-center, and so they're true analog sticks. They don't self-center. This one's actually in the shaft is just sort of broken, so it's just sort of reattached in a kind of a weird angle. And then you've got your fire button. Now, if this is all you've got, you really do get used to these after a while. But they're never going to be good for a lot of what you do. And so Tandy saw an opportunity, or probably this is what they planned, because I can't imagine someone designed these thinking they were going to get the job done. And so they released what they called the deluxe joystick for the color computer. The deluxe joysticks were sort of like those, except wider, with a white outer base, and they had the ability to self-center or be totally free like those. You could actually turn that centering on and off. I found these to be an excellent joystick. The button was instead of on the top, was where a button should be, like in the corner. These were expensive, and they still are. They're expensive enough to where I don't have any. You're talking $60 for a used joystick. That's a lot. So what I ended up getting was an adapter, which I wish I'd known about this when I was a kid. Now, my buddy had a CoCo and said these adapters existed, and he had some. But these adapters go to the color computer joystick port, and they convert it over to let you use a standard Atari joysticks. The normal sticks at the C64 and the Atari, and a slew of other computers and consoles use the same ones that the Genesis used. And so I've got here my trusty 500 XJ Epix joystick, and then also I've got hooked up here, and you guys, if you've watched my show at all, this is the Wico Ergo stick, which is one of my all-time favorite controllers. It's beautiful. It's got that Boat calls us the dead skin joystick to match the Spectrum. When this came out, it felt different, but it's a solid stick. I've rebuilt it a few times, and these have nice clicky. They have a nice click to them, and they always feel great. So we'll be using these to explore the majority of these games. Now, I've been told that some of the games in the CoCo require the analog stick, which these are obviously not. So if we come across one, I know one's color baseball. I was told you can't play that one with these. But when we come across those, we'll switch back, and I'll just have to endure, or hopefully eventually I'll end up getting a deluxe joystick for the CoCo. But boy, I loved the CoCo growing up. I always had a lot of fun with it, and I'm looking forward to just going through and trying some games, doing some live streams, and having a good time. I wanted to kick off the series with just something that I remembered fondly. Did this live up to my memories? I mean, it's a lot. In some ways, it's fun, but you can tell this is sort of the low rent version. And the CoCo, known for its clones, had a lot of great clone games, and we're definitely going to explore some of those. I would say this is probably middle of the road for the clones. There are some that are far, far worse. That's for sure. So, anyway, thanks for joining me, and I will try to catch you guys again on the flip side for some more hot CoCo action. Adios.